The discordant galaxy. The vast expanse of the Milky Way had never known true harmony. For eons, countless civilizations rose and fell, their histories etched in the cosmic dust of forgotten worlds. Wars raged across star systems, alliances fractured like glass, and the promise of unity remained as elusive as dark matter. This was the galaxy that humanity inherited when it finally broke free from the cradle of Earth. As the cerulean-hulled ship Earthsong glided into the docking bay of Nexus Station, Captain Area Zhang couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. The massive space station hung in the void like a glittering jewel, its numerous arms extending outward to accommodate vessels from 100 different worlds. It was humanity's first diplomatic mission beyond the solar system, and the weight of responsibility sat heavy on Aria's shoulders. Docking sequence complete, Captain, announced her pilot, Lieutenant Omar Rashid, his fingers dancing across the holographic controls. We're cleared for disembarkation. Aria nodded, her dark eyes scanning the alien ships surrounding them. Remember, everyone, we're here to observe and learn. The United Earth Council may have granted us this opportunity, but we're still newcomers. Let's not give anyone a reason to regret our invitation. As the crew of the Earthsong made their way through the station's winding corridors, they couldn't help but marvel at the diversity of life forms around them. Beings of all shapes, sizes, and compositions bustled about, their languages a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and modulated tones. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the ship's xenobiologist, was practically vibrating with excitement. Captain, do you see that gelatinous being over there? I believe it's a Jokar. They communicate through bioluminescent patterns. And over there, that's definitely a Vexteri. Their exoskeletons are said to be harder than diamond. Aria smiled at Yuki's enthusiasm, but kept her focus on their destination, the Grand Council Chamber. As they approached the massive doors, adorned with intricate carvings depicting the history of galactic civilization, Aria felt a flutter of nervousness in her stomach. This was it, humanity's formal introduction to the galactic community. The doors swung open silently, revealing a vast circular room. Tiered seating surrounded a central platform, and representatives from hundreds of species turned to regard the human delegation. Some looked curious, others wary, and a few seemed downright hostile. A tall, willowy being with iridescent skin stepped forward. Welcome, representatives of Earth. I am High Counselor Zarek of the Lumina. We have been eagerly awaiting your arrival. Aria bowed respectfully. Thank you, High Counselor. We are honored to be here. As the formalities continued, Dr. Tanaka's attention was drawn to a shimmering display near the center of the chamber. Floating in a containment field was a cluster of crystals, each pulsing with an inner light. Excuse me, Yuki whispered to a nearby alien, a being with 4 arms and eyes that seemed to swirl with galaxies. What are those crystals? The alien regarded Yuki with a mixture of surprise and amusement. You mean you don't know? Those are harmonic crystals, one of the greatest mysteries in our galaxy. They're said to resonate with the very fabric of space-time, but no one has ever been able to fully understand or control them. Yuki's scientific curiosity was immediately piqued. She opened her mouth to ask more questions, but was interrupted by a commotion from the other side of the chamber. A group of reptilian beings, their scales gleaming like polished obsidian, had surged to their feet. This is an outrage, one of them hissed, pointing an accusatory claw at the human delegation. We, the Drak-Thor Imperium, object to the inclusion of these primitives in our galactic affairs. The chamber erupted into chaos. Some species voiced their agreement with the Drak-Thor, while others rushed to defend humanity's right to be there. Aria found herself at the center of a storm of alien politics she barely understood. High Counselor Zarek raised his hands, calling for order. Please, let us not forget the principles upon which this council was founded. Every sentient species has the right to representation. As the arguments continued, Yuki's gaze was drawn back to the harmonic crystals. To her amazement, they seemed to be pulsing in time with the heated discussions, their light growing brighter and dimmer in a complex pattern. Suddenly, a sharp crack echoed through the chamber. One of the crystals had developed a fissure, a jagged line marring its perfect surface. The room fell silent, all eyes drawn to the damaged crystal. "It's never done that before," someone whispered. In that moment of stunned silence, Yuki felt a strange sensation. It was as if she could hear a faint melody, just at the edge of perception. She looked around, wondering if anyone else noticed it, but all attention was focused on the cracked crystal. High Counselor Zarek's voice was grave when he spoke. "This is an ill omen. The harmonic crystals have remained unchanged for millennia. For one to crack now, at this moment of discord." Area, sensing an opportunity, stepped forward. "High Counselor, esteemed representatives of the galaxy, perhaps this is a sign that change is needed. We may be newcomers, but we come with fresh perspectives and a genuine desire to learn and contribute." She gestured to the damaged crystal. "We don't know why this happened, but we're willing to work alongside all of you to understand it. Isn't that what this council is about? Cooperation in the face of the unknown." There was a murmur of agreement from some of the delegates. Even the Drakthor representative seemed to be considering her words. Yuki, still captivated by the faint melody she thought she heard, raised her hand tentatively. "If I may, High Counselor, we humans have a long history of studying crystalline structures. Perhaps we could offer our expertise in examining the harmonic crystals." Zarek's multifaceted eyes seemed to shimmer with interest. "An intriguing proposal, Dr. Tanaka. While the crystals have long been considered too precious and potentially dangerous for in-depth study, perhaps it is time we reconsidered that stance." As discussions broke out among the various factions, Area couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the precipice of something monumental. Humanity had come to the stars seeking knowledge and alliances, but they might have stumbled upon something far greater. The cracked harmonic crystal continued to pulse, its rhythm subtly different from its fellows, and in that altered beat, the seeds of a cosmic revolution were sown, one that would challenge the very nature of the galaxy itself. As the first day of negotiations drew to a close, Area gathered her team in their assigned quarters on Nexus Station. The room, while comfortable, was clearly designed with a variety of alien physiologies in mind, leading to some amusing attempts at using the facilities. "All right, team," Area said, her voice tinged with equal parts excitement and concern. "I think it's safe to say this isn't quite the diplomatic mission we expected. Dr. Tanaka, what can you tell us about these harmonic crystals?" Yuki's eyes lit up. "Captain, they're absolutely fascinating. From what I've gathered, these crystals are found only in the most remote and dangerous parts of the galaxy. They seem to respond to emotional and psychic energies, but no one's been able to decipher their full potential." Lieutenant Rashid, ever the pragmatist, spoke up. "That's all well and good, but how does this help our mission? We're supposed to be establishing trade routes and non-aggression pacts, not poking at mysterious space rocks." Area considered this for a moment. "You're right, Omar. But I can't shake the feeling that these crystals are the key to something bigger. The way every species in that chamber reacted when one cracked, it's clear they hold immense importance. Or immense danger," added Security Chief Lex Quan, his cybernetic eye whirring as it focused. "We need to be careful. We don't want to be blamed if something goes wrong." As the team continued to discuss their next moves, none of them noticed the small hairline fracture that had appeared on the viewport of their quarters, a fracture that pulsed with a faint, mesmerizing light, echoing the rhythm of the damaged crystal in the council chamber. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what harmony, or discord, humanity would bring to its cosmic symphony. The first movement. Adapting the instrument. The following weeks on Nexus Station were a whirlwind of activity for the crew of the Earthsong. While Captain Area Jong navigated the treacherous waters of interstellar diplomacy, Dr. Yuki Tanaka found herself at the center of a scientific revolution. The Grand Council, intrigued by humanity's fresh perspective, had granted Yuki unprecedented access to study the harmonic crystals. Her makeshift lab, a repurposed storage bay, hummed with a mixture of Earth technology and alien equipment. "This is incredible," Yuki muttered, her eyes glued to a holographic display. The crystal before her pulsed with a soft, blue light, its rhythm changing subtly as she adjusted various instruments. Lieutenant Omar Rashid, who had been assigned to assist her, looked up from his datapad. "What's incredible? The fact that we're studying space rocks instead of flying the ship." Yuki shot him an exasperated look. "These aren't just space rocks, Omar. They're like cosmic tuning forks. Look at this frequency analysis." She pulled up a complex waveform on the main screen. "See how it shifts. It's responding to the ambient energy of the station, the emotions of the beings around it, even the distant echoes of stellar phenomena." Omar raised an eyebrow. "Okay, that is pretty cool. But how does this help us? The Jokar and Vexteri have been studying these things for centuries, and they haven't cracked the code." Yuki's eyes sparkled with excitement. "That's just it. They've been studying the crystals individually, treating them like singular entities. But what if?" She paused, her mind racing. "What if they're meant to work together? Like an orchestra?" As she spoke, Yuki began rearranging the crystal samples on her workbench. To Omar's amazement, the pulsing lights began to synchronize, creating a harmonic pattern that was both beautiful and slightly unsettling. "How did you know to do that?" Omar asked, his skepticism giving way to wonder. Yuki shrugged. "I didn't. It just felt right. Like I could hear the crystals asking to be arranged this way." Before Omar could respond, an alarm blared through the station. The floor beneath them shuddered, and the lights flickered ominously. Captain Aria's voice crackled over the intercom. "All hands, brace for impact. We've got a rogue asteroid on a collision course with the station." Omar and Yuki exchanged alarmed glances. The lieutenant was already heading for the door when Yuki called out, "Wait!" "The crystals." To their astonishment, the harmonic crystals on the workbench were glowing brighter than ever, their pulsing light now a steady, brilliant radiance. And in that light, Yuki saw a possibility. "Omar, help me with this," she said, grabbing a portable power unit. "We need to get these to the station's shield generator." Now, as they raced through the corridors of Nexus Station, chaos erupted around them. Aliens of all species scrambled for safety, their panic a cacophony of sounds and colors. Security Chief Lex Quan met them halfway, his cybernetic eye whirring as it assessed the situation. "What's the plan, Doc?" Lex asked, falling into step beside them. Yuki, breathless from the run and the weight of the crystals, explained her theory. "The crystals respond to energy. If we can integrate them into the shield system, we might be able to amplify its power." Lex nodded, his training kicking in. "It's worth a shot. The station's normal defenses won't hold against an impact of this magnitude." They burst into the shield control room, startling the alien technicians inside. Captain Aria was already there, her face grim as she surveyed the tactical displays. "Captain," Yuki called out, "I have an idea, but it's risky." Aria turned, her eyes widening at the sight of the glowing crystals. "At this point, Dr. Tanaka, I'm open to anything. What do you need?" As Yuki and Omar worked to integrate the harmonic crystals into the shield system, Lex coordinated with the station's security teams. Aria, meanwhile, found herself facing a wall of skeptical alien faces on the command screens. "This is madness," the Drakthor representative hissed. "You would risk the entire station on some human's wild theory." High Counselor Zarek's melodious voice cut through the arguments. "And what alternative do you propose, honored Drakthor?" "Our conventional defenses are insufficient. If Dr. Tanaka's theory has even a chance of success, we must try." As the debate raged on, Yuki made the final connections. The shield generator hummed to life, the familiar blue energy now threaded with veins of crystalline light. "It's done," Yuki announced, her voice tight with tension. "But I don't know if—" Her words were cut off as the station shuddered violently. On the main view screen, they could see the massive asteroid hurtling towards them, its surface pockmarked and scarred. "Brace for impact," Arya shouted. The crew of the Earth Song, along with every being on Nexus Station, held their breath as the asteroid closed in. The shield flickered to life, a dome of energy expanding outward. And then, something extraordinary happened. As the asteroid made contact with the shield, instead of the expected catastrophic impact, it seemed to dissolve. The rocky surface broke apart, but not into deadly fragments. Instead, it shimmered and dispersed, the very atoms of the celestial body seeming to dance in harmony with the energy of the shield. In a matter of moments, the threat had passed. Where once there had been a killer asteroid, now there was only a spectacular light show, the remnants of the rock swirling in patterns that mirrored the pulsing of the harmonic crystals. The silence that followed was profound. It was broken by the sound of applause, tentative at first, then swelling to a crescendo. Aliens of all species were celebrating, their differences momentarily forgotten in the face of their shared survival. Arya turned to Yuki, her eyes wide with amazement. "Dr. Tanaka, I think you just changed everything." As news of the miraculous save spread through the station and beyond, the implications began to sink in. Humanity, the newcomers to the galactic stage, had done what centuries of alien science could not. They had unlocked a fragment of the harmonic crystal's true potential. In the days that followed, Yuki found herself at the center of a scientific frenzy. Alien researchers from across the galaxy clamored to work with her, to understand how she had made the intuitive leap that led to this breakthrough. But even as accolades poured in, Yuki couldn't shake a nagging feeling. The way the crystals had responded to her, the strange melodies she sometimes thought she heard. There was more to this story, she was sure of it. As she stared out at the star-studded expanse of space, Yuki whispered to herself, "This is just the beginning, isn't it? We're learning to play the instrument, but what's the song we're meant to perform?" Little did she know, the galaxy itself was listening, and the next movement of the cosmic symphony was about to begin. The second movement, composing the melody. The news of humanity's breakthrough with the harmonic crystals spread across the galaxy like wildfire. What had begun as a diplomatic mission for the crew of the Earth Song had transformed into something far more profound. As the dust settled from the averted asteroid crisis, Captain Arya Zhang found herself at the center of a political maelstrom. "The Terran Harmonic Course," Arya repeated, her brow furrowed as she looked at the holographic proposal before her. High Counselor Zarek's iridescent form shimmered on the other side of the desk. "Indeed, Captain." Zarek's melodious voice resonated through the room. "Your Dr. Tanaka's discovery has opened up possibilities we never imagined. The Grand Council believes that a dedicated human-led research team is our best chance at unlocking the full potential of the harmonic crystals." Arya leaned back in her chair, her mind racing. "It's an honor, High Counselor, but I'm not sure we're ready for this level of responsibility. We're still newcomers to the galactic community." Zarek's multifaceted eyes seemed to twinkle. "Perhaps that's exactly why you're suited for this task, Captain. Your fresh perspective, your species' innate creativity. These are assets we cannot ignore." As Arya mulled over the proposal, elsewhere on Nexus Station, Dr. Yuki Tanaka was deep in discussion with an eclectic group of alien scientists. The makeshift lab had been expanded, now occupying an entire section of the station. Harmonic crystals of various sizes and hues pulsed gently in carefully monitored containment fields. "The resonance patterns are unlike anything we've ever seen," a Jokar scientist named Lumi said, her bioluminescent patterns flashing with excitement. "It's as if the crystals are trying to communicate." Yuki nodded, her eyes fixed on a complex holographic model floating above the central table. "I think you're right, Lumi. But it's more than just communication. Look at this." She manipulated the hologram, zooming in on a particular frequency pattern. See how it mimics the background radiation of the galaxy. It's like the crystals are attuned to the very fabric of space-time. A Vexteri researcher named Crix clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. Fascinating. But how do we harness this? The energy output when we averted the asteroid was enormous. Replicating that on a controlled scale. That's what we need to figure out, Yuki said, her voice filled with determination. We're not just looking at a new power source here. This could revolutionize everything, from space travel to terraforming. As the scientists debated theories and ran simulations, Lieutenant Omar Rashid entered the lab, his expression a mix of excitement and apprehension. "Doc, you're going to want to see this," he said, gesturing for Yuki to follow him. They made their way to the station's observatory, a vast chamber with a transparent dome, offering an unobstructed view of the surrounding space. What Yuki saw took her breath away. Stretching out before them was a shimmering curtain of light, reminiscent of Earth's aurora borealis, but on a cosmic scale. Tendrils of energy in every color imaginable danced across the starfield. "What is it?" Yuki whispered, awe evident in her voice. Omar shook his head. "We're not sure. It appeared about an hour ago, just after your team ran that last batch of experiments. The station's sensors are going haywire trying to analyze it." As they watched, the cosmic light show pulsed and swirled, its rhythms eerily similar to the resonance patterns of the harmonic crystals. And then Yuki heard it, a faint, haunting melody that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Omar," she said slowly, "I think we just composed our first galactic symphony." The implications of this event were staggering. Word spread quickly, and soon the observatory was filled with beings from across the station, all watching in wonder as the universe itself seemed to dance to a human-led tune. Captain Aria, having concluded her meeting with High Counselor Zarek, joined her crew in the observatory. As she took in the spectacular view, she realized that the decision had been made for her. Humanity couldn't walk away from this, even if they wanted to. "Dr. Tanaka," Aria said, her voice carrying the weight of command, "I think it's time we officially formed the Terran Harmonic Court. This is bigger than any one of us now." Yuki tore her gaze away from the cosmic display, meeting her captain's eyes. She nodded, understanding the enormous responsibility they were about to undertake. In the days that followed, Nexus Station became a hub of frenetic activity. The newly formed Terran Harmonic Corps, led by Dr. Yuki Tanaka and supported by a diverse team of alien scientists, worked around the clock to understand and replicate the harmonic event. But not everyone was thrilled with this turn of events. The Drakthor Imperium, in particular, viewed humanity's rising influence with suspicion and barely concealed hostility. "This is an abomination," the Drakthor ambassador hissed during a heated Grand Council session. "These humans play with forces beyond their comprehension. They risk the very stability of our galaxy." High Counselor Zarek remained calm in the face of the Drakthor's anger. "And yet, it is their playing that has given us the first real breakthrough in understanding the harmonic crystals in millennia. We cannot let fear hold us back from progress." As the political debates raged, the Terran Harmonic Corps pushed forward with their research. They discovered that by carefully modulating the resonance of the crystals, they could create controlled harmonic events. These symphonies, as they came to be called, had a variety of effects, from boosting communication signals across vast distances to calming ion storms that would have otherwise torn ships apart. But it was during one particular experiment that they stumbled upon something truly revolutionary. Yuki and her team were attempting to use the crystals to create a localized subspace field, hoping to improve faster-than-light travel. As the crystals hummed and pulsed, their energies intertwining in complex patterns, a shimmering portal appeared in the center of the lab. Through it, they could see another part of the galaxy, light years away. "By all that's holy," Crix the Vexteri breathed, his exoskeleton quivering with excitement. "Is that instant transportation. Yuki's mind raced with the possibilities. Not just transportation, she said, her voice filled with wonder. If we can stabilize this, we're looking at the ability to connect any 2 points in space instantaneously. Do you realize what this means? The implications were staggering. Such technology could revolutionize trade, exploration, even the very structure of galactic society. But it also posed immense risks if misused. As news of this discovery spread, the tensions that had been simmering beneath the surface of galactic politics began to boil over. The Drakthor Imperium, fearing that their strategic advantages in space warfare would be neutralized, began to mobilize their fleets. Other factions, seeing the potential for either great benefit or catastrophic harm, started to take sides. The galaxy teetered on the brink of a conflict unlike any it had seen before. In the midst of this growing storm, Captain Area found herself in a difficult position. The Terran Harmonic Court had achieved more in a few months than many civilizations had in centuries. But had they moved too fast? Were humans ready for the responsibility that came with such power? As she stood in the observatory, watching another harmonic symphony paint the cosmos with light and sound, Area couldn't shake the feeling that they were approaching a point of no return. The melody they had begun to compose could lead to a new age of peace and prosperity for the galaxy, or it could spiral into a cacophony of chaos and destruction. The next movement of this cosmic opera would determine the fate of not just humanity, but every sentient species in the Milky Way. And somehow, Area knew, the key to it all lay in understanding not just the science of the harmonic crystals, but the very nature of harmony itself. As the symphony reached a crescendo, Area made a decision. It was time for humanity to take center stage in the galactic concert. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them head-on, with the power of harmony as their guide. Little did they know, the universe had much more in store for them, and the true test of humanity's role in the cosmic symphony was yet to come. The third movement, facing the crescendo. The galaxy held its breath as news of the Terran Harmonic Core's latest breakthrough spread. The ability to create stable wormholes using harmonic crystals had shifted the balance of power almost overnight. As various factions scrambled to adapt to this new reality, a more insidious threat loomed on the horizon. Captain Area Zhang stood before the Grand Council, her posture rigid with tension. The holographic faces of representatives from across the galaxy stared back at her, their expressions ranging from awe to fear to barely concealed hostility. Esteemed members of the council, Area began, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. I come before you today with urgent news. Our long-range sensors have detected a cosmic anomaly, unlike anything we've ever encountered. We're calling it the cacophony. Murmurs rippled through the assembly as Area brought up a holographic display. It showed a vast, roiling mass of energy, its edges jagged and discordant. Even in this visualized form, there was something unsettling about its movements, as if it defied the very laws of physics. The cacophony appears to be a concentration of anti-harmonic energy, Area continued. It's disrupting subspace communications, destabilizing star systems, and, she paused, steeling herself, and it's heading straight for the heart of our galaxy. The council chamber erupted into chaos. Accusations flew as various factions blamed each other and humanity for this new threat. The Drakthor representative's voice rose above the din. This is the result of your meddling, he hissed, scales bristling with anger. You humans and your harmonic courts have upset the natural order. This cacophony is nature's response to your arrogance. High Counselor Zarek's calm voice cut through the arguments. Regardless of its origin, the threat is real and imminent. Captain Zhang, what do your scientists propose? Area took a deep breath. Dr. Tanaka and the Terran Harmonic Court believe we can counter the cacophony with a coordinated harmonic resonance on a galactic scale. But to do so, we'll need the cooperation of every spacefaring race. We need to create a symphony unlike anything the universe has ever seen. The silence that followed was deafening. What Area proposed was unprecedented. A galactic alliance not just of politics, but of music and energy on a cosmic scale. As the council debated, Dr. Yuki Tanaka and her team were working tirelessly in their lab on Nexus Station. The room hummed with energy as harmonic crystals of various sizes pulsed in intricate patterns. "The simulations are promising," Yuki said, her eyes fixed on a holographic display. "If we can synchronize the resonance of harmonic crystals across the galaxy, we might be able to create a barrier that could neutralize the cacophony." Lumi, the Jokar scientist, flashed a pattern of concerned bioluminescence. "But the scale required. We'd need millions of crystals, perfectly tuned. The logistics alone are mind-boggling." Crix clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. "Not to mention the precision required. One wrong note in our galactic symphony could tear a hole in the fabric of space-time." Yuki nodded, the weight of their task evident in her expression. "That's why we need everyone. This isn't just about the science anymore. It's about trust, cooperation, harmony in every sense of the word." As the Terran Harmonic Corp refined their plans, Captain Area found herself navigating increasingly turbulent political waters. Many races pledged their support, seeing the cacophony as a threat to all life. Others, however, remained skeptical or outright hostile. The Drakthor Imperium, in particular, posed a significant challenge. Their territory contained some of the largest known deposits of harmonic crystals, crucial for the plan's success. Yet they remained stubbornly isolationist, convinced that they could weather the cacophony alone. It was during a tense negotiation with the Drakthor ambassador that Area had an epiphany. As the reptilian being hissed and postured, Area noticed how the ambient lights in the room seemed to pulse in response to his emotional state. "Ambassador," Area interrupted, her mind racing. "I have a proposal. Instead of asking you to give us access to your crystals, why don't you join us in the symphony?" The ambassador's scales rippled with surprise. "What do you mean, human?" Area leaned forward, her eyes intense. "Your people have a unique connection to the crystals, don't they? I've noticed how they respond to your very presence. What if, instead of just being participants, the Drakthor took a leading role in orchestrating our galactic symphony?" The idea took root. The Drakthor, proud and ancient, saw an opportunity to showcase their mastery over the harmonic crystals. Slowly but surely, other reluctant races were brought into the fold. Each offered a unique role that played to their strengths. As preparations for the Great Galactic Symphony got underway, however, a new threat emerged. Extremist groups, fearful of change or seeking to profit from the chaos, began targeting harmonic crystal installations across the galaxy. Security Chief Lex Quan found himself coordinating an interstellar security operation unlike any in history. "It's not just about protecting the crystals," he explained during a briefing. "We need to safeguard the conductors, the relay stations, everything. One act of sabotage could doom us all." The crew of the Earth Song, once a simple diplomatic mission, now found themselves at the heart of the greatest undertaking in galactic history. Captain Area became the de facto conductor of this impossible orchestra, coordinating efforts across millions of light years. Dr. Yuki Tanaka led the scientific efforts, fine-tuning the harmonic frequencies that would hopefully save them all. And Lieutenant Omar Rashid, with his pilot's intuition, helped design the intricate network of wormholes that would allow the symphony to play out in perfect synchronization. As the day of reckoning approached, a tense hush fell over the galaxy. The cacophony loomed ever closer, its discordant energies already causing gravitational anomalies and subspace disturbances at the edges of charted space. In the grand auditorium of Nexus Station, representatives from every participating race gathered. The room had been transformed into a cosmic concert hall, with harmonic crystals of all sizes arranged in a pattern that mirrored the galaxy itself. Captain Area stood on a raised platform, surrounded by holographic displays showing similar scenes playing out across millions of worlds. In her hand, she held a conductor's baton made from a sliver of the very first harmonic crystal they had studied. To all beings across the galaxy, Aria's voice rang out, translated instantaneously into thousands of languages. Today, we face a threat unlike any we have known. But we face it not as separate races, not as rivals or enemies, but as a united galaxy. Today, we prove that harmony is not just a scientific principle, but the very core of our shared existence. She raised the baton, its crystalline structure catching the light. Let our symphony begin. As Aria brought the baton down, harmonic crystals across the galaxy sprang to life. From the core worlds to the farthest reaches of space, a melody beyond imagination began to play. It was a song of unity, of defiance against chaos, of life itself standing against the void. The universe held its breath as the grand experiment unfolded. Would this unprecedented collaboration be enough to stop the cacophony? Or had humanity, in its audacious reach for the stars, doomed all of creation? The answer lay in the crescendo that was about to unfold, a cosmic ballet of energy, and that would determine the fate of every living being in the Milky Way. The grand final, humanity's cosmic symphony. The galaxy trembled as the greatest concert in the history of the universe began. Captain Aria Zhang stood at the heart of Nexus Station, her crystalline baton raised high, conducting the symphony that spanned millions of light years. Around her, representatives of countless alien races worked in perfect harmony, their differences set aside in the face of cosmic peril. As the first notes of the galactic melody rang out, Dr. Yuki Tanaka's eyes were glued to the holographic displays surrounding her. Streams of data flowed in from every corner of the Milky Way, painting a picture of a galaxy coming alive with harmonic energy. "It's working," Yuki breathed, her voice barely a whisper. "The resonance patterns are aligning. We're actually doing it." Lumi, the Jokar scientist, flashed patterns of excitement and concern. But the cacophony, it's responding. Indeed, as the symphony of the harmonic crystals spread across the galaxy, the roiling mass of anti-harmonic energy seemed to writhe in defiance. Tendrils of chaotic energy lashed out, disrupting the carefully orchestrated patterns. In the command center, Lieutenant Omar Rashid's hands flew over the controls, adjusting the network of wormholes that kept the galaxy-wide orchestra in sync. "We're losing coherence in sectors 7 through 13, he called out, his voice tense. "The cacophony is adapting faster than we anticipated." Captain Aria, her brow furrowed in concentration, made a split-second decision. "Patch me through to the Drakthor conductor," she commanded. The reptilian face of Shirak, the Drakthor's lead harmonist, appeared on a nearby screen. "What is it, human?" he hissed, his own version of a conductor's baton clutched in his clawed hand. "We need to modulate the bass frequencies," Aria explained quickly. "Your crystals in the galactic core, can you amplify their resonance?" Shirak's eyes narrowed, but he nodded. "It will be done. But be warned, the strain on our systems will be immense." As the Drakthor adjusted their part in the cosmic orchestra, a new layer of depth added to the galactic symphony. The very core of the Milky Way seemed to hum with power, sending waves of harmonic energy rippling outward. For a moment, it seemed as though they had turned the tide. The cacophony's advance slowed, its chaotic energies struggling against the wall of harmony erected by the united races of the galaxy. But then, without warning, a discordant shriek tore through subspace. On a distant arm of the galaxy, a cluster of harmonic crystals had overloaded, creating a feedback loop that threatened to unravel the entire symphony. "No!" Yuki cried out, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. "The dissonance, it's spreading." Security Chief Lex Kwan's voice crackled over the comms. "We've got reports of sabotage in multiple sectors. Extremist groups are targeting key relay stations." The situation was unraveling fast. The carefully constructed harmony was falling apart, and with it, their last hope of stopping the cacophony. In the grand auditorium of Nexus Station, panic began to set in as the representatives of various races watched their efforts crumble. It was in this moment of crisis that Captain Area Zhang made a decision that would forever change the course of galactic history. "Dr. Tanaka," she called out, her voice cutting through the chaos. "The wormhole network. Can we use it to channel a harmonic energy directly?" Yuki's eyes widened as she grasped Aria's plan. It's never been done before. The amount of energy we're talking about, it could tear the fabric of space-time. "Do we have a choice?" Aria asked, her gaze steady. Yuki hesitated for just a moment before nodding. "All right, but we'll need to reconfigure the entire network. And someone will have to manually adjust the primary resonance chamber. The radiation levels." "I'll do it," Aria said, already moving towards the chamber. "Captain." "No," Omar protested. "The exposure, it's a one-way trip." Aria paused, looking back at her crew, at the family she had found among the stars. "Sometimes harmony requires sacrifice," she said softly. "Keep the symphony going." "That's an order." As Aria sealed herself in the primary resonance chamber, Yuki and Omar worked frantically to reconfigure the wormhole network. Across the galaxy, other races caught on to the plan, adjusting their own systems to channel a harmonic energy. Inside the chamber, Aria stood surrounded by pulsing harmonic crystals, their energy so intense that her skin tingled. She could feel the music of the cosmos flowing through her, each note a star, each chord a galaxy. With trembling hands, she raised her crystalline baton one last time. "For Earth," she whispered. "For the galaxy. For harmony." As Aria brought the baton down, a pulse of pure harmonic energy erupted from Nexus Station. It raced through the reconfigured wormhole network, gaining power with each leap across space. The symphony that had been playing across the galaxy now focused into a single, pure note, a cosmic tuning fork to counter the cacophony. The effect was immediate and awe-inspiring. Where the harmonic wave met the cacophony, reality itself seemed to warp. The anti-harmonic energy writhed and twisted, trying to escape the encroaching order. On Nexus Station, alarms blared as systems overloaded. "We're losing structural integrity," someone shouted. But Yuki's eyes were fixed on the main display, watching as the harmonic wave continued to expand. "Hold on," she urged. "Just a little longer." Across the galaxy, beings of all races watched in wonder as the sky above their worlds shimmered with ethereal light. The cosmic symphony reached its crescendo, a note so pure and powerful that it seemed to resonate with the very essence of the universe. And then, in a flash of light that outshone supernovas, the cacophony disappeared. In its place was left a shimmering nebula, gases and stardust arranged in patterns that pulsed with residual harmonic energy. The threat had been neutralized, transformed into something beautiful. As the realization of their victory spread, cheers erupted across millions of worlds. The galaxy had faced its greatest threat and emerged not just victorious, but transformed. On Nexus Station, the celebration was tinged with sorrow. The primary resonance chamber was empty, with no sign of Captain Aria Zhang. She had given her life to save the galaxy, becoming one with the cosmic symphony she had helped create. In the days that followed, as the dust settled and the full impact of what had transpired became clear, the galactic community found itself forever changed. The boundaries between races began to blur as the shared experience of the Great Symphony fostered new understanding and cooperation. The Terran Harmonic Court, under the leadership of Dr. Yuki Tanaka, became the nucleus of a new galactic initiative. Their mission: to explore the frontiers of harmonic science and to ensure that the unity forged in crisis would endure in times of peace. Humanity, once newcomers to the galactic stage, now stood as pioneers of a new age. They had shown that true strength lay not in dominance, but in harmony, in the ability to bring together diverse elements into a greater whole. As for Captain Aria Zhang, while her physical form was gone, many swore they could still hear echoes of her final symphony in the background radiation of space. Some even claimed to have seen her image in the swirling patterns of the newly formed Harmony Nebula. Whether legend or truth, one thing was certain. Aria's legacy, and that of the human spirit she embodied, would resonate through the cosmos for eons to come. As the galaxy looked to the future, filled with both challenges and opportunities, they did so with a new understanding. They had learned that in the grand concert of the universe, every voice, every note, had its place. And when those notes came together in harmony, there was no force in the cosmos that could stand against them. The age of cosmic harmony had begun, and humanity, against all odds, had become its conductor.